Hey friends, this is Mark Hallock, and I want to personally invite you to our biggest event of the year, the 2026 Replant Summit, August 25th and 26th in Alpharetta, Georgia. Now, this year's theme is Every Church Matters, Mobilized, Multiplied, because we believe God is not finished with struggling churches. You'll be encouraged through practical sessions on discipleship, community engagement, church renewal, multiplication, and more. Plus, you'll connect with pastors and leaders who understand both the challenges and the joys of the work of church renewal. Now, space is filling up quickly, so reserve your spot today. We would love to see you at the Replant Summit. Register at churchreplanters.com.
Welcome to Revitalize and Replant with Mark Clifton and Mark Hallock, where we equip pastors to take their churches from declining to thriving by pointing them to a new future and a new hope. Join us weekly for encouragement and practical advice in your pastoring journey.
So here we are with one additional podcast. We have, how many have we done now? We're in the hundreds.
Well,
podcast.
yeah.
You mean today?
Well, it seems like today.
We need to find out. I mean, I know we're in the 300s.
I think it's
We're in the 300s, I think.
pretty
Something
amazing.
like that, yeah.
It's Revitalize and Replant with Mark Clifton and Mark Hallock. I'm Dan Hurst. Kyle Bierman is over at the controls. And once again, we are in the hallowed halls of Fellowship West. And as a matter of fact, this time we have a special guest joining us. We have Matt Clough, and who you knew from Canada.
I did. By the way, Fellowship West is in Kansas City, Kansas, the way western end of Kansas City, Kansas. Really doesn't feel like Kansas City, Kansas. Didn't used to be.
Yeah.
They took the county and the city and made them all one. It was called a unified government.
Yep.
But it used to be, this would have been Piper, Kansas, who had been out here all by itself.
Okay.
Yeah. But we're way out here. If you know about the Kansas Speedway, NASCAR, we're out there by that. We're also out here where the Chiefs are going to build their new stadium. Great place. So we're out here in western Kansas City, Kansas, with Matt Clough, the pastor here at Fellowship West. And yes, Matt, when you were a high school kid, you came to Canada. Your whole life changed because you spent a week with me in Montreal, right?
That's right. I met the blonde hair, bleach blonde guy.
I had bleach blonde hair, purple glasses, and I had an earring.
That's right.
I had a diamond. Well, it was a cute zirconium stud earring.
And Matt has been in therapy ever since.
That's right.
No, he came there.
Traumatized.
Something you can't unsee.
No, I know it. That's true. But no, he came up there when we were planting churches in Montreal. He was part of the youth group here at Lenexa Baptist.
That's correct. I'd just been saved and called to ministry.
There you go. Well, let's bring us up to date, man. First of all, Matt was the replanter of the year.
Come on. Hey, congrats.
With that came a large cash prize in a car.
That's right.
Card
I'm loving that Maserati. It's good.
Unbelievable.
But a few years
You
ago,
have to put it together yourself, though, don't you?
Hey, it was a Matchbox car.
But a few years ago, he was the replanter of the year because of what he did in a little town called Bonner Springs, Kansas, not far from here. So, Matt, tell us a story about the replant at Bonner Springs and then what's happened and just the early stage. How many years ago was that? And bring us up to date.
Yes, I moved to Kansas City in December of 2013 to plant a fresh church.
Mm-hmm.
And we were looking at Western Shawnee, which is a different county than where Bonner Springs is, but only about 2 miles away, but very different demographic, kind of across the river, across county lines. And we could not find a location. We had a core team from Lenexa Baptist.
Yep.
We were meeting every week. We tried the school system. They said no. Businesses would not rent to us. And Pastor Steve Dighton and I drove and called every single possible opportunity over months, and every single door got shut in our face.
Wow.
And then
That's got to be encouraging.
it was encouraging is not the word I'd use.
For a young church planter.
My wife and I did have many nights where we were having to try to remember God's call. That we know He called us here. We know we prayed and fasted. We had finished unpacking boxes, and yet a little disheartening, but we believed it would kind of come about eventually, but it was still kind of hard. Yeah. But for us, like it was kind of on a random day, Pastor Steve called me and said, "Hey, we can't find a location, but there's a church in a neighboring Bonner Springs that called and said that they will give us their building and assets debt free if we'll take them over." I got to be honest, I didn't really know where Bonner Springs was.
Right.
Even though it was only 2 miles away from our target area, it wasn't where I'd ever really been. And I did kind of say no at first. I had a fear of replanting.
Yeah.
I'd had friends who'd replanted, and to me that seemed scary. I wanted to do the fresh work. Pastor Steve let me sit on that for a day or two, and then called me and said, I really think you need to pray through this. I think God's in it. He is my pastor. He's my mentor. He discipled me when I first got saved.
Let me interrupt a minute and say that Matt, by any category, Matt is a very successful church planter, replanter, pastor, any category. But there's always a backstory behind that success.
Yeah.
And the backstory really is Steve Dighton,
Wow.
who has mentored him
Yes.
from day one.
Absolutely.
And guys, if you're not mentoring a young man, you are missing it.
Good word, man.
I mean, if things take their natural course, because Steve's my age, Steve and I will be gone long before Matt's gone, but his ministry will continue. And so I think that's absolutely true, Matt. You were so well shaped and mentored by him. And unfortunately, a lot of the guys who listen to this podcast don't have a Steve Dighton. They don't have someone who's mentored them and cared for them. And man, we need to do that.
Amen.
Really, that's an important part of the story.
So did you grow up in that church then?
We moved here right before I turned 16.
Oh, okay.
We moved here.
Okay. Yeah.
In fact, I was kind of angry going to church. I didn't want to go to church. My sister was killed in a car accident when I was 12.
Oh.
So I was kind of angry at God, at religion. I thought God didn't answer prayer, the whole thing.
Yep.
My parents were strong in their faith. We ended up at Lenexa Baptist, and my parents made me go because they're good parents. They prayed for me to share the gospel. And eventually God did deal with my cold, calloused heart, called me to himself. I responded in faith, was called to ministry that same year. And Steve Dighton just began to mentor me. In fact, he's still the guy that I talked to last week. I still call him about my
still your mentor. Yeah.
He's still my pastor and mentor.
I love that.
We grabbed coffee just a couple weeks ago as well. He's still the guy I turn to.
Absolutely. So Bonner Springs.
So he called, and we after praying about it, we felt like God gave us peace. My wife and I said, God's in this. So I got to be honest, probably the scariest moment I've ever had as a pastor was that Sunday morning when I had to get up and tell my core team, I've been telling you for 6 months, we're going to zip code 66226.
Yeah.
We're going to this school district. We're going to most people live in that school district, in that zip code, in those neighborhoods. And I've grown to love these people. They're my friends. And I got up thinking they're going to hate me. They're not going to come. I shared the vision, and almost every single one of them came with us.
Wow.
We went over and we spent the summer really kind of rehabbing that building that had fallen into disrepair. The people there were not the people that I thought would be there. They weren't, for the most part, cantankerous or angry or grumpy people. We had a couple, but most of them weren't. Most of them really were gospel-loving people who made a very heroic decision. That's scary, to sign over everything, to sign over control, to shut down their constitution and bylaws, to come under a new system. And for me, they really are heroes.
Frankly, I don't know if you mentioned it before or not, but this was not a Southern Baptist church.
They were not. They were GARB, which I also did not know what that was until this moment.
Right.
Yeah.
So
That's huge.
It was huge.
Yeah, that's huge.
And so there were a lot of things there, but we spent months painting, tearing out walls, working beside each other, so that when we launched in August of 2014, it didn't feel like two groups. It felt like one unified group.
I love it. Yeah.
And almost immediately we saw people saved and baptized. Their preschool and kids rooms were full for the very first time. And in fact, within 6 months or so, every single adult small group in that church had to be canceled and moved to home groups for the most part, because kids and preschoolers ended up taking over the entire building, which wasn't very big. So it's not as impressive as it sounds.
But praise the Lord.
But it was a great thing.
That's
Saw
awesome.
people saved and baptized there very quickly. Yeah.
Okay, question. I got to ask a question.
Yeah.
Paint a picture of Bonner Springs, because you're looking at this area, Shawnee, right?
Yeah.
And excited about it, whatever. This sounds like it was a very different community. What was this community like? How was it different than what you were looking at?
It's very different. And in fact, it's very different now from what it was 12 years ago.
That's very true.
Very different.
Yeah.
It was a very small kind of bedroom community, blue collar. That they had a population at that point, I think, of like 7,200. Now they're about 7,700 people.
Okay.
Not very large, connected to the larger metroplex, but had a very small time.
Distinct. Yeah. I was
very much so. And in fact, it's a town that doesn't like outsiders.
Yeah.
It doesn't like change. And when we first came in, we grew from neighboring towns for
Right.
probably the first year. I don't know if we had more than a handful of visitors from actual Bonner Springs because we were new and we had to earn the right
Totally.
to build a relationship and have them. We knocked on almost every door. We served the people, but it was a very closed off community that we had to very slowly begin to build
I
with.
want you to think of Bonner Springs as a little old town surrounded now by new towns.
Okay.
And they were sort of defensive about that.
Very bristled up.
They didn't want to lose their identity.
They did not.
of being this little old town. And as he said, a very blue collar town, extremely blue collar town. One of the main businesses in town is a biker bar.
It is.
That's kind of where it is. And where they were looking to plant a church would be in the very affluent, growing suburbs across the river.
Very different.
We're talking two very distinct communities, guys. Incredibly distinct, different communities. And that the Lord put him in this place.
Wow.
Yeah.
And knew the timing, because basically in the last 7 or 8 years, this Bonner Springs has really become more and more of the suburban community.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not so much the
that's been the shift.
Yeah.
Well,
it shifted.
Well, and honestly, I think housing prices had a lot to do with
Oh,
it.
it was a cheaper place to get a house.
Yeah, so now it's become a place where as the older people from the town have been moving out, kind of going, no longer there. It's been young families, young couples be able to move in.
Because it's affordable.
It's one of the more affordable places if you wanted a decent school system to move into in Kansas City.
Yeah.
So it has transformed the past years, but it was kind of hard sledding the first year or so.
Wow. That's
So when you filled up that building, you had to go to 2 services.
We did.
So how large did you get in that building at Bonner?
We eventually got to a place where we were running probably 275, 300 a Sunday in that building.
Yeah.
How many were in the sanctuary? How many did it hold in the worship space?
Fire code number, or I mean, realistically, 150, 160 what was pretty packed. And the AC could not keep up at that point.
Yeah. Oh boy, that's tough.
And parking lot, we parked over half our cars off site at the high school across the street.
Wow.
Because the building was not built to really handle more than 75 days. What it was more built for. Kind of an old shotgun style.
Yeah. And so you go to 2 services.
Went to 2 services.
And you're like, man, where is this going to end? I mean, we're going to keep reaching people.
Yeah. And we've always kind of said Fellowship West is like a goldfish. Every time we kind of have space, we just kind of fill it up.
Yeah.
And so we moved people to first service and we felt really good about it. But within just a few months, that second service was full again.
Yeah.
And then Parkway.
So we had existed for about 5 years, and we were in the process of buying portable classrooms to put on the property. We had approved, we had raised some funds to do it debt free. And I was at a North American Mission Board conference in Chicago for church planters. And my wife and I had kind of been praying in between sessions, and I felt like God was kind of leading me to not do the trailers. And we were going to be signing on them the next week. I called our finance chair and told him, "Hey, Clint, I don't think we should do this." And his response was, "You just hate spending money." And but I really felt like we shouldn't do it. And we went back the next week. We looked at trailers and saw some issues with it we had not seen before. And so we pulled out of that deal. Well, God knew that we would need that money to rehab another location.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And pretty much exactly the amount that we had raised is what it took to rehab
Is
that
that
location.
right? Wow.
And within a matter of weeks, I was at the Southern Baptist Convention in Birmingham, Alabama. And I got an email from a pastor at Parkway Baptist Church in Kansas City, Kansas. And he emailed me and said, I don't know if you remember me, but we met I was at your Good Friday service. You came and spoke with me. We prayed together. And he said, I'm struggling. I need to talk with you. And because we've had some success with our replant and what we've been doing, occasionally pastors will reach out to talk and pray. And so I thought it was just kind of a general lunch, to sit down and prayer like usual. But at that lunch, he kind of slammed a notebook, a big kind of 3x5 binder on the table, and said, "Here's every program I've tried. Here's everything I've done. We're dying. I have no energy. Our people can't do it anymore. I'm done. I want you to take us over. How about we go look at your new building?"
Wow.
And so I was trying to process what this was.
What was going on? Yeah.
A second location had never been in our design or plan.
Yeah.
But I drove over, and from the moment I drove on the facility, it was like God said, "This is what I had for you." And so we spent that summer rehabbing that building.
And how long does it take to drive from Bonner Springs to the Parkway building?
Unless it's during Renaissance Festival time,
Well,
it's
that's
13 minutes.
13 minutes.
13 minutes door to door.
Okay. All right. Different town, though.
Different town, different demographic,
Very different.
feel.
Yep.
And so we spent the summer rehabbing that. We moved people from our Bonner Springs campus up there to help give it a kind of a critical mass. Parkway was down to about 15 people. But they were 15 people who deeply loved Jesus.
Yeah.
They wanted to see gospel work continue. Praise God, we retained all of them when we did the transition as well. And so we moved people up there and began running 2 locations.
How many folks did you send or began worshiping there with those 15?
We moved probably 60 to 70 initially.
Okay,
Went up with us.
So Parkway Church is a beautiful building and a very great, on a great main road.
Yes.
1992, I was their interim pastor.
That's incredible.
I know.
Yeah.
I've been everybody's in.
Yeah.
Parkway at that time was pretty new.
Yeah.
I think they built that building maybe 1989 or 1990.
Yes.
It's a nice building. But even then, dude, in 1992, they were struggling.
Yeah.
They moved out there and they struggled from day one.
It was a church that never got it going.
It never got going.
Yeah.
And I remember very distinctly, I was walking back to the car one Sunday afternoon after church, and the chairman of the search committee came back and he knocked on my window, and I rolled it down. He goes, "Would you be our pastor?" And he was serious, you know. And I said, I don't think I'm called to be your pastor.
Yeah.
They were hurting in 1992.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's a history.
It is.
And so again, when I heard that Matt was going to take the campus, I was like, we'll see, because no one's been able to do anything with this thing in 30, 40 years now.
Yeah.
And so I was really, really pleased.
Yeah.
So it was a cool story. So anyway, tell what happened at Parkway.
Well, we grew there very quickly, and but that was in the fall of 2019, and then COVID happened. Yeah. Everything shuts down. The God in His sovereignty gave us a location that's far enough away from neighborhoods, which normally I prefer being near houses.
Right, sure.
This place really is not near any houses.
Yeah.
Which allowed us to do outdoor worship every single Sunday during COVID. So while most people were shut down, online only, we were doing online too. But we met outside.
They gather outside,
And every Sunday between June and November, we only had one Sunday canceled because of weather. And we grew during that time. Saw people saved during that time, baptized during that time. And when we started meeting in person again, we were running more than we were running when shutdown happened. Wow, and God just kind of grew us in that space. It was a pretty cool thing to see.
That was 2020. So you took Parkway in 2020.
We took it in 2019.
Oh, 2019.
And then in the fall. And then 2020 happened. And
so for 5 years, you had 2 campuses. You preached in both places.
I did. Pretty much every Sunday, I would preach at minimum 3 services, 2 at Bonner and 1 at Legends, and then eventually 2 at our Legends campus. It's the Parkway campus.
Because Legends was a shopping center near there.
Yeah.
That's what they call it. Yeah.
Now, what was that like? I mean, that's a lot. I mean, you're going back and forth. Yeah. What was that experience like for you?
It was a little chaotic, I think there are parts of it that I loved because I got to be everywhere with all the people. The biggest negative was because I had to leave immediately as the announcements were rolling at our second service of Bonner, where frankly, most of our people most of our visitors were. There was a large portion of our people that I never really got to talk to. Did not get to interact with. And so that part was really hard.
Yeah.
But it was a fun season of going back and forth, and eventually preaching 3 and 4 services a Sunday kind of became normal.
Yeah. Get used to it. Yeah.
I would tell other people about it and they thought it sounded crazy, but for our staff, it just kind of became what we did.
Yeah. Right.
So you did that for 5 years.
I did.
2 campuses.
Yes.
And then you have to wait till next week. We got the story of where we are today. A whole new story that you don't want to miss. But I'm telling you, man, you got the Bonner Springs Baptist Church sat there for years and just really couldn't break through. And Parkway never got started, right?
Yeah.
And yet in a replant, God has a plan for every church.
Amen.
Jesus had a plan for both of those churches. And in both of those locations, we saw hundreds of people attend, but more importantly, we saw 100 people come to know Jesus.
Hundreds, yeah.
Hundreds come to know Jesus. And really transform the community.
Yeah.
And I will say this. We'll give you a little teaser, okay? Here we go. They're in a new building now. They got another building. But what did you do with the Bonner building, the one that you were given all those years ago?
Okay, are we going to answer? Or should
No,
we wait?
we're going to wait.
Let's wait.
All right, we'll wait.
Let's
All right,
wait.
we'll see you next week. All right, man.
Thanks for joining us today on Revitalize and Replant with Mark Clifton and Mark Hallock. This podcast is brought to you by the North American Mission Board, where we help dying or struggling churches regain health for the glory of God and the good of their communities. If you found this podcast helpful, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. To learn more about becoming a replant pastor or to explore revitalization resources for your church, subscribe to our monthly newsletter at churchreplanters.com.